I didn't teach Slick any of the things that he does, though.
Oh, you're gonna throw me under the bus now? That way,
I do
you're
have a
gonna
good
throw
one.
me under the bus?
One good Slick story. Slick, we were doing the Indian dance team first, and Slick, originally Jim was very much recruiting from the Indian dance team to make the canoe team, and I always joke I was the fifth person of a four-person canoe team on the team. You know, I was the least likely.
I just hung up on a call from China.
Oh, you think Bill was trying to call us?
It's Taiwan next.
No.
Might be Bill.
What was I thinking? So, I just lost my thought.
You were the fifth man.
You were the fifth
yeah.
man.
So it was, so Slick was, we were practicing on Sunday mornings.
Right.
So Sunday morning, well, early, like 8 or 9 o'clock Sunday mornings, and Slick was always very late when he came. But one day,
Not often.
one day, Slick was there before we got. And Slick says, "I found the secret to being on practice on time. I came here last night and spent the night in the car, and that way he was able to be on practice. That's what he did. So,
That was the whole time you were out or working at night for the company and whatnot, and
you never came in. I remember Slick saying, "The best way I can not be late is I'm gonna spend the night here in front of the Ledbetter's house."
that's what I did. I spent the night in the car.
In the car.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be late.
All I
Of
can
course,
say is,
I would roll in about 4 o'clock in the morning now, you know, doing my own.
Yeah.
I would work until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
And one time you were the odd person, and they said, "Oh, take a pirogue."
And beat all y'all.
Yes. Oh, and you had, unfortunately, one time you came with your steel-toe boots on.
Uh-huh.
And he was doing fine until he fell out with the, and he realized it was hard to swim with the pirogue with the steel-toe boots. But he did. Right?
Oh, yeah, correct.
Well, that was a tippy pirogue.
Yeah, but it sat low in the water and it beat all of y'all. Y'all were 2 people and I was just one. I mean, you know, hey.
Yeah, and when I was first starting, like I said, I was the 5th person on the team. Jim was in the boat, somebody else was in the boat, I was the one in the middle. Yes, I was the one in the middle pulling on.
That was a training
the training
position.
spot. That's what I was in the training position. You know how wide it is in the middle of the boat, and I was the one in the middle using and we were using those feather brand paddles.
Yes.
That we kept using, and the more we paddled,
The better we got.
we started breaking them. Because the feather brand paddles really weren't designed to be used. You know, I mean, so it was a checklist item with the code. They bend, they go, snap, whoa, oh dear, you know.
Tom would raise all kind of.
When we broke a paddle.
No, we kept breaking them off.
Absolutely.
We started having 2 and 3 paddles in the canoe.
Absolutely.
Per
We kept
canoe, and
breaking
Tom
the
said,
paddles.
"What the hell is wrong with y'all? Y'all keep breaking them up paddles. Oh, y'all can't be doing this. Tough.
And then we eventually bought paddles,
Right.
Sawyers and things that they were actually meant for that.
Correct.
And then we had, Jim, you had a friend that was making us paddles, Mr. Bishop?
John Bishop,
Mr. Bishop would make us paddles.
chemist with DuPont.
Yes, and he was trying to experiment, and Mr. Bishop was making us these bent shaft paddles. And we would learn to paddle with them, and they were bending, and unfortunately we have none to show, because none of them lived.
I have one.
You have one? Okay, you go. But the ones he sent here, we would use it, it was a snap! Shoot. So then he made one that we couldn't break. It was Walter's paddle. Walter, it was a log, and Walter said he wanted to make his own handle. And remember Walter's handle was this big round thing that was bigger than anybody's hand?
We refer to it as a
Bowl nut.
yes.
And then Walter had made his own special handle. And it was huge. And I think that paddle, I think Walter kept it. I mean, I think it's the only one that lived.
My first race, I was the odd man out.
Okay.
Went to Bogachita, and there was a guy there, Denny Holmes.
Danny Holmberg.
And I paddled with him because he was like, "Hey, anybody here?" And I was the little 100-pound weakling
And
left
he
over.
kicked all our butts.
Right, and I paddled with him, and he had those. I
Yes.
bought a paddle from him.
Yes, we all, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Show and tell.
That was a beautiful paddle.
Now this is the Tom Ledbetter version.
yes.
This was the Holmberg version. This is my first Holmberg, yes.
I think that's referred to as a Dale better.
That's right. This is Tom made it, and then Paul prettied it up.
That's a Dale better.
So
It's got a
yes.
couple of patches. but
It's got a
in
couple
good shape,
patches. This
yeah.
was my, yes, that's right. That was the Holmberg paddle.
Is that the only remaining homemade paddle from here?
Yes, well, yeah, I think so.
I
So
still have mine.
You still have yours?
Got a lot of checks on the.
Anybody
I
have
have one.
anybody still have the one that had the Kevlar blade?
Pop riveted to
The
the.
Pop riveted on the
Right, we were
made them on the back of the stout side.
Right, right.
Those did not survive.
Those did not, they all kind of popped off eventually. So, yeah, but this was, Tom made me this, because I asked for paddle and Denny, I mean, like, I think that Tom, for $45 he built me a paddle and Denny was charging me like $85 or $90. And then Paul said, that's not very good, I can fix that up for you. So Paul fixed it up and turned it on. That's what I used when I moved up to Illinois to paddle until, so, yes. But those, yeah, those were just-
I sold mine to Wayne LeBeau.
Oh, okay.
He still has it.
I bet he does.
Show and tell, show and tell.
You know, there was one canoeist that, well, at least a couple we couldn't find. And, but one of them was Owen Gray. And I don't know how many of you remember Owen Gray.
Yes.
But
I
Owen,
had a towel that had his name on it for years.
well, we needed another paddler. And so I recruited him. I was living in Nashville. I recruited him, and so we trained on the Cumberland River. We'd go out paddling, and our best episode, or escapade, I guess, was we were paddling on the Cumberland River. And at that time, the Grand Ole Opry also had this stern wheeler that went up and down, and they were having a fundraising event, and the sheriff's department was out there, and we were going to paddle through this area where the stern wheeler was, but they wouldn't let us come. So we kind of just edged along the shoulder, and when we got, far enough so they weren't looking, we, dashed off. But Owen went out there at least 1 year.
White River twice.
Yeah,
Twice?
went to-
Twice to White River and at least 1 year to Buffalo River.
Well, Tal brought home.
Because I
his
paddled
towel.
with him 1 year at Buffalo River, and I think 1 year at White River. And then he paddled with, the first year, 76 was the year that George and Danny took us to White River. We had Wayne Como, who I didn't think about calling, come to think of it. Wayne Como was one of our 1 year people. Wayne is Fred Como's son, right? Right. And Wayne and Bobby and the daughter is the same age as me. April. She taught tennis at City Park. She was, but Wayne paddled with us, and Wayne was very smart, very athletic, and ate a lot. He ate. He and Owen did the 26-mile league for us. And I paddled with Mark Miley, who Mark couldn't make it because there's a team retreat this weekend. So Mark said his thoughts are with us. Mark is now a priest in Kaplan. So yeah, his wife died, and he was a deacon, and he is now a Catholic priest. Yes. Mark Miley, yeah.
Why don't you talk about Miley's submarine car?
Oh, most memorable. Okay, 1976, the day of the Sugarcane Festival, we were training for the Bayou Teche Invitational. And I was with Mark Miley, and Tom was timing us. And I just remember we're coming around the bend at the country club, this bend here, and we come around the bend, and Mark Miley says, "Goose, I think that's a car." And I'm in the front, and I didn't look when I paddled. So I go, "Yeah, Mark, sure, of course." So then he goes, "Goose, that looks like my car." And we stop, and we look up, and at that point, there is a dark green Chevy something in the middle of the bayou. Slowly beginning to do the submarine thing. We go, "That can't be your car, we don't see Tom." So right then and there, Tom Ledbetter runs up the country with a clipboard and a stopwatch, and we go, and Tom goes, and we realized that Tom had parked the car by the country club, and the car went into bayou. And so we pull over, and we realized Mark's car is in the bayou. And that day was we were practicing. Last day we were about to go see the Queen's Parade, a big day at Sugarcane Festival, all of this activity, policemen all over New Iberia, and Mr. and Mrs. Miley were waiting for us at City Park. So we were going to finish, and we're not showing up because we're stuck at the country club exactly 1 mile away. So at this point, I'll run to City Park and tell the Mileys where you are. So I'm running like a little son of a gun down Mark Hommel to get to City Park. And by this time, the Mileys realize we haven't shown up. So they've driven and they show up at the country club. And Mrs. Miley goes, "Where's Tom? Oh God, Tom is in the car! Oh, no, Tom's in the car!" And no, Tom's not in the car. Tom ran to the park. Tom goes to the park and nobody runs back. So I run a mile there, I run a mile back. And Mrs. Miley then sits there and says, and she hugs Tom. And he says, "You don't seem to understand. This is the only way I was going to get a new car." So that was the ending of the car. And of course, we called some divers that came in and they got the car and they chained it up. And the wrecker, we pulled it out of the bayou and they took it out of park. And the next day, Mr. Miley had it working. Because he worked at the trade school. He was in charge of the trade school.
Yes, he was.
24 hours later, that car was functional, and Mrs. Miley had a brand new Mercury Marquis, where she smiled.
They opened up the trunk of that car.
And the fish.
They had a big catfish.
Big catfish in the
I
trunk
have
of the
no
car.
idea how a car can go in the bayou with a closed trunk.
And you have to come up,
Open it up and it was a
and then there was a fish in the trunk. So that was, and that was the date. I mean, every Super Chain Festival, I think of that event. That's because you come back from you
come back from Mass.
and there we were.
Something's going on.
Something going on. Yes. That was so that exciting things in post 517. Those were the years. Then there was the great running out of gas one time. Mr. Miley, this is Mark and I are working out. And Mark is taking me in that car. It's a '67 Chevy Impala. And we get to about City Park. And Mark goes, "Oh, we're out of gas. We have to call my dad." "Oh, it's not going to be pretty." So I said, "Well, you know, Mark, there's a phone that we can use at the center." So we walk to the center. We call Mr. Miley. He's not happy about it. We talked to Mrs. Miley, who was always so pleasant. And Mr. Miley wasn't happy. He says, "I'll come get you." So 7 minutes later, Mr. Miley comes and he says, he gets the gas and we fill up Mark's car. He says, "I'll drive that home. You take mine home." So, okay, so we get in. This is the older Mercury Marquis, the big, the second largest car made in the United States. Remember the Mercury Marquis boat? And we go about 2.5 blocks. And we realized Mark is just smiling ear to ear. My dad's car was out of gas. We're gonna call, and he's just gonna have conniption for it. So we of course call, and he's not home yet because he hasn't reached home. So Mrs. Miley is just laughing. I mean, just, oh God, he's gonna have a conniption fit. Yes, he is. So immediately Mr. Miley gets on the phone. He goes, "Daddy, we ran out of gas in your car." There's a pause. "Walk home." And Mrs. Miley goes, "No, I'll come get you." So that was the 2 days the Mileys, we had two out of gas experience. So that was probably the same year, '76. That was it.
I just remember Berthe's old car when we go see. Roll up the window, did you get 5? We go 5 miles.
We got 5 miles. That was the Falcon, or was it Ford, whatever the smallest Ford was. That was the Berthe car. And if you went with the windows up, you went 5 miles an hour faster.
Which meant it almost did 50.
Almost 50. Yeah. There was a time we went to Texas, Dixon, and we went in one car. Tom and I went in one car, and Darrell and Robert might have gone in the Rabbit.
The diesel rabbit.
The diesel Rabbit. The Davises had just gotten the diesel Rabbit. And the diesel Rabbit with 2 canoes on it couldn't go over 50 miles an hour. So he was drafting on 18-wheelers about 1.5 feet behind him. He could get 70 miles an hour when he was drafting, but we were worried he wasn't going to be able to stop. But he was drafting behind. And when he needed to get gas, you'd pull into the gas place And this little rabbit with the 2 canoes on it is between these 18-wheelers, and he's like, I need 5 gallons. You know, I need $5 worth to get
Back in
10.
the 70s.
In the 70s,
the only diesel stops were.
So, but I remember going to Dickinson Bayou with the rabbit. He got like almost 40, 50 miles per gallon,
Something outrageous.
but it couldn't go over 50 miles an hour.
So Matt keeps telling all these stories about y'all and trouble, air conditionings and stuff. I'm gonna tell a story about Matt.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Yippee.
thank you.
He looks so
Hey,
hurt.
Matt,
I'm very interested.
One of our-
My wife at home.
I left my wife at home.
One of our first dates, he was driving his little Starlet, that little bitty
Yeah, we have a picture of it, yes.
And so he
One of our
has a
first dates,
canoe,
what
he
you kept
said,
forgetting.
let's go canoeing, okay, I'm all game for canoeing. And he drives up on the Starlet with this canoe strapped on top, probably 10 times longer than the poor little Starlet. We get in, we go to Tesh Lake Canal. And of course he unloads and the whole time he's telling me, okay, when you get in a canoe, you gotta stand in the middle, you gotta walk down the middle, and I'm like,